Good afternoon, everybody. It looks like we're live. We'll see in just a second. I'm Mary Grace. Welcome to the show, Real Talk with Mary Grace. Let's see if we have anybody. There we go. Got a little bit of a lag here. We're streaming to Periscope, Facebook, and YouTube and Cloud Hub at the same time. So, Happy New Year, everybody. We're jumping into the new year. I'm Mary Grace. As you come into the show today, please share this. Please get it out to as many places as you can. And we will hope to get this show on the road. If you're on Facebook, as I've asked before, please get this to the groups that you are in because that's the best way to get around their algorithm. They have definitely figured out who I am, and so they're making it harder to get the word out. My shows, I'm not sure of the whole story on Cloud Hub. The Cloud Hub was actually targeted, and so they've had some challenges there. But we're gonna still, I'm gonna still tell everybody that I'm there because at some point it's gonna be all back to normal, and we'll be back. Okay, so that's a good question. Hopefully, we're not having too much of a lag on Periscope. Okay, so here we go. It takes a few minutes for it to come up on my secondary device. So it's good to have everybody here. I'm glad to see you all. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. And I hope that everybody's having a beautiful day, a beautiful New Year's Eve. And it's probably different from any one that you've ever had before, and we are just going to make the most of it. I've never been a big go out and party on New Year's Eve person, so I don't feel like we're missing a whole lot here. But we're just kind of. I've actually been working. I've been working all day, and yeah, Greg Harvey says Cloud Hub is coming back strong. He's going to be testing the system in the next few days. So Greg is actually helping people get their channels up, and he has a lot more knowledge and understanding about Cloud Hub than I do. But I do have a channel there. It's channel 111 on Cloud Hub. So good to see everybody here. Welcome. Glad you're here. Everybody who's here, just keep sharing this out. Keep sharing, keep retweeting, invite followers. If you're on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Maybe one day they'll actually let me go live from my mobile device on YouTube. That would be great. Okay, so it looks like Miguel California is here in Periscope, and that's awesome. Miguel, we're gonna have to figure out a place, and a way in DC to do a gig. Wouldn't that be awesome? We just have to figure that out. So if anybody's up in the Northern Virginia or DC area, and you want um, and you want to see me doing some music with Miguel California, and you have a venue where you can let us do that, that would be awesome. Even if it's just sort of like a off the books underground little venue, we could do something like that. So if you have a home, a studio, a back room, a little stage where we could plug in and get some sound out and some tunes out to people, we would love to do that for the new year. So that's going to be like between the 5th and the 7th in DC. So Northern Virginia, Arlington, Alexandria, Fairfax, something like that. Uh, that would be just so awesome if we have a place to have a gig. Wouldn't you guys like that? So get the word out if you're up there, if you know anybody who's in that area that can let us have a stage, that would be great. Especially if they have all of the equipment, because he's coming from California, and so we're not going to be able to bring our own stuff. Okay, that would just be wonderful. Now, somebody just asked a question. Yeah, I'm a musician. I'm a vocalist, and Miguel is a musician also and a vocalist. So and he's a songwriter. So pretty cool. Yeah. And if we do it, then we would live stream it. Um, so it's really good, very exciting. And speaking of next week, speaking of Washington, D.C., I'm getting there on the 5th. I'm going to be there through the 7th or 8th. And it's going to be very interesting because we found out that we can't even sit in the lobby of our hotel. So it's going to be a little crazy, maybe feeling like being under house arrest or something. And that's just in Washington, D.C. So the mayor of Washington, D.C. has major TDS. And, and so she's decided that the Rona is so dangerous that hotels have to restrict all of their activities, and that restaurants can't serve food at all indoors, that everything has to be takeaway. So there's that. If you go just across the street to Maryland or Virginia, then you actually can get food in a restaurant and you can sit in the lobby of your hotel and do things that normal people do. So that's the situation. Now, if you haven't tuned in before, if you're just watching me for the first time, if you're just going to DC for the first time, hey there, Kelly on YouTube. Just know that I did a show on Monday and I went over some details about how Washington, D.C. is laid out, and how to navigate, and just some of the safety tips and things like that. And so there are hotels available around, especially in Northern Virginia, and the rates aren't that bad, y'all. So just get on booking.com or hotels.com, and you can book rooms. I would say choose the Virginia side, so Arlington or Alexandria or Fairfax or Falls Church, because Virginia is not quite as nutty as Maryland in terms of like being corona crazy. Okay. So just think about that. And yeah, so anyway, when it comes to the hotel, they're gonna they're gonna make everybody do room service, which isn't the whole point of being at the Trump Hotel, is that you can be in the lobby and that you can actually, socialize with people and interact, because it's a huge, beautiful lobby. But the mayor of Washington, D.C. knows that. And so, she's so heavily afflicted with TDS that she just has to make it difficult on everybody. Now, there's a rumor going around that there aren't any porta potties available, and I'm not sure if that's true. When we were at Freedom Plaza before, we had when we were at Freedom Plaza before, we had a lot of porta potties available, and I don't know if the mayor has actually put the kibosh on that too. Maybe she just wants all of the entire million people just going in the street. Maybe that's what she wants. Maybe she wants to create a public health crisis. I don't know. But based on all of the decisions that have been made around this ridiculous virus up until now, I would say that it wouldn't be too far from imagination, reality, to imagine that that she would do that. Okay, so there is that. Maybe she wants to create a public health crisis, and if there's one way to do that, that's to remove all of the bathrooms and remove access to bathrooms and make it so that people actually have to go to the bathroom in the street. And then you create a typhoid epidemic. So there's that. So somebody said that they stayed in Annapolis before, and if you're not familiar with the area, I would not recommend staying in Annapolis, because public transportation to and from Annapolis, Maryland, is really hard. I know that because my nephew used to live there. I would say that the furthest out you would stay is uh, Glen Burnie, I think. New Carrollton. Sorry, that's where the train, like the last metro goes. Okay, New Carrollton. So just remember that. And then so Washington, D.C., if you can't come, make sure that you find out what's going on at your state capital. And if you can get to your state capital, go and participate there. Okay. And so, do the best you can. We also need a lot of prayer. Make sure that you are covering this event in prayer, because one of the reasons that I think the president is asking everybody to come is because, Christians, people of God, have the presence of God, and they bring the presence of God into the places that they go. And so whether it's your state capital or the capital of the United States of America, the the presence of God is so important because we're seeing that the people who are sort of running the show there um, are are just destroying that, and there's just a lot of demonic activity, and so it's just a really bad situation, and so we want to restore the presence of God there. And when I was there for the first rally right after the election, some of you watched me. You watched my broadcast, and you saw how overcome I was by the presence of all the patriots there. And it's because the presence of God is just hovering over that place, and we're kicking out the swamp devils, and we're bringing in the presence of God. So that's what's important, and that's what's so critical about uh, the fact that we're going to be there. Okay, and it's no small thing to bring millions of people into Washington D.C., most of whom have a very strong faith in God and in Jesus Christ. So this is really important because if you look at history and you look at the Bible history, every place that the Jewish people went, the Hebrews, every place that the Jewish believers, the Christians went, it brought the presence of God into that place, and so it changes the atmosphere. And so that's something that's really important to understand. It's not coincidental that we are being called to come and to rise up. So we are a patriotic army of believers. We're a patriotic army of Christians and Jews and people of very strong faith who are coming and ushering in the presence of God into that city and driving out the demonic that has just absolutely um, torn up our nation and has dug roots in to the nation's capital. And so that has to be uprooted. We have to, not only do we have to drain the swamp, we actually have to uproot the swamp. We have to get everything out of the swamp that's in there. Because if we don't, if anybody's ever gotten weeds out of your garden, you know that if you don't pull them up by their roots, they're just going to grow back up. You can't just chop off their little heads. You have to get the roots out. And so part of what we're doing by being in Washington, D.C., is that we are uprooting the swamp. And so that's really important to understand. And we're replacing that with the roots of the deep faith that our founding fathers had when they founded this nation and when they got the call from God to establish a government that is based on that is based on the truth of the gospel. So I really want to emphasize that we're not going up there just to party. We're not going up there just to sit around and cry and moan and wish that something would be done. We're actually going on a mission. Okay, so that's important and it's exciting. It's pretty exciting. Now, Todd did want me to remind you, my wingman is going to be there. So when he was in Washington D.C. a couple of years ago, when we did the walkaway march, he decided that he was going to do a scope from his room at the Trump in the famous Trump bathrobe. And so we're going to resurrect the tradition and we're going to bring you the bathrobe scopes from the Trump Hotel. So that's going to bring a little bit of humor and a little bit of levity to the situation. And so a lot of people have given us some good feedback about the interaction that we had the last time we were there. And I'd say that we have a little bit of a comedy duo going. And so we're going to kind of resurrect that. So you'll see some Todd and Mary broadcast. And that's good because I think that we all need some laughter. It's been very tense. I went to the chiropractor today and he adjusted me and he said, you're a little tense. You're a little tense. So I think all of us are sort of holding some tension, and so the laughter is good. And yeah, so we're going to try to do some recaps at the end of every day. And so be prepared. Get your favorite jammies ready. Get your favorite beverages and snacks ready. If you're doing the superfoods challenge with Greg and me, get your superfoods snacks ready so that you can stay on your program. Okay, so that's going to be so awesome. And so it's going to be really fun. I think that we're going to have the camera on a tripod so that Todd can't wreak havoc and nobody's going to have to take Dramamine for those broadcasts. I can't guarantee what's going to happen, with the other broadcasts though, if he gets a hold of the camera, because as you guys know, he needs a little bit of work with his camera skills. Okay. Todd's in the chat on Periscope. He says that you must be in your jammies to watch the bathrobe scope. Okay, so that means if you're in California and you're in the 5 o'clock hour and we're doing an 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock bathrobe scope, you're gonna have to get in your jammies. So even if you're out at the store, you're gonna have to go to Walmart in your jammies. Apparently, that's what Greg Harvey did yesterday. He went out to the store. He went to Publix in his jammies. So yeah, so all the superfoods crew, get your baby carrots ready, get your cucumbers, get your avocado, and get ready to do some jammy time with us. Okay, so that's gonna be fun. Now, shifting the subject here, I wanted to talk about something that has come up a little bit, and that is, let me just make myself a bookmark here. Uh, so yeah, it's gonna be really fun. Uh, okay, Edith on YouTube says that jammies are legal as soon as the sun begins to set. I'm down with that. Okay, I think it's gonna be fun. Okay, so here we go. Let me look at the chat here. Okay. Um, I know so many people shopping their PJs. As a rule, I don't do that. Yeah, I don't do that. Okay. So it's just not my thing, but some people do. Okay. PJs. All right. Now, I wanted to talk to you. You're bringing, okay, Catherine says she's bringing her power shake for the 6th. Yeah, it really is easy, isn't it? Yeah, I just had a power shake before the show. It's so awesome. I'm going to talk a little bit about superfoods toward the end here, but but let me just talk to you about the news. Okay, now there's been some interesting things happening over on Twitter. I'm not going to dive too much into the election right now, because I wanted to talk to you guys about something that's going um, on Lynn Wood's timeline. Who's watching Lynn Wood on shoot. Who's been paying attention to Lynn Wood's Twitter? Um, if you haven't, you're kind of missing out. Not going to Walmart again ever. Yeah, okay. So uh we're going to talk about Lynn Wood a little bit. Now, do you remember when I guess early on in this process when Lynn Wood was doing talking about the lawsuits, and he was doing a lot of radio appearances, TV appearances, and I said that Lynn Wood is like a surrogate for President Trump. Do you remember that? Uh, so let's review, because one of the things that one of the things that is very interesting is that there are things that the president wants you to know. There are things the that the that our team, that our military intelligence team wants you to know, and they can't really come out directly and tell you those things. Now, if you've been following our favorite letter of the alphabet for a while, then you aren't surprised at some of the things that he's coming out and talking about. And so I think that if you recall back in 2015, even then, people started talking about things that celebrities and politicians were doing to children. And they were bringing up the idea of Epstein Island and all of the illicit activities that were taking place. And they were using a term having to do with a certain food group, and it was getting banned, and people were getting uh, shadow banned and removed from social media for talking about it, and people were getting ridiculed, and people were getting labeled conspiracy theorists, and they were saying that's ridiculous. There's no way that anybody's doing that to kids, and you're crazy, and you should stop talking about that stuff, blah blah blah. Do you remember that, when everybody said that we were crazy? Okay, so fast forward now, okay, so that was like 2015. And then in 2017, our favorite letter of the alphabet came on the scene and started dripping questions and information and getting people to do research. And so the Anons started doing research, they started digging, they were given little clues of where to look. And so that was 2017. This is 2020 going into 2021. So 3 years after that, and we now have a very prominent attorney who has won really prominent cases, who represented Richard Jewell, who was the man who was targeted in the Atlanta Olympics bombing. He was targeted by the FBI. He was scapegoated, and he was defamed. And so Lynn Wood represented him, and Lynn Wood also represented the boy from Covington. What's his name? the kid that was was defamed and labeled a white supremacist by the media because he was Nick Sandman, okay, because he was looking at a man who was trying to intimidate him, and they said that that was racism, okay. And so Lynn Wood won that case. So if you're not familiar with who he is, that's who he is. And he has defended the helpless. He is a defamation lawyer. And so when it comes to defamation and when it comes to lawsuits around that topic, Lynn Wood is an expert and he's a winner. And he understands the implications of publicly accusing somebody and labeling them with certain labels. For example, calling someone a pedophile, calling someone a sex trafficker, whatever it is. All right, accusing somebody of having an affair. So this is where we are, and so now we have Lynn Wood coming out. Yeah, somebody just mentioned that he's actually helping the young man from Kenosha. What was that guy's name? The one that's accused of murder, who went up there to Kenosha. So Lynn Wood is no stranger to defamation. He's no stranger to the big leagues, and he's no stranger to intimidation by lawyers who want to shut down people and get people's lives destroyed. Okay, so Lynn Wood has been dropping a bunch of truth bombs. Yeah, Kyle Rittenhouse, thank you, the Kenosha kid. So Lynn Wood has been dropping, like, he's been running in the room and throwing stink bombs in uh, Kyle Rittenhouse, thank you. He's been throwing these stink bombs in the room, and he's been daring anybody to come after him and sue him, and nobody will. So why do you think that is? It's because Lynn Wood has the goods. And if he didn't, he wouldn't say the things that he's saying. He is a very good lawyer, and a good lawyer never asks a question that they don't know the answer to. Our president is the same way. And so so there's some things going on here that I want you to understand. All right. One is that uh, one is that Lynn Wood is getting information out that the public needs to hear, and he is putting himself under the spotlight intentionally because for a couple of reasons. One is that he he doesn't have anything to lose. So he's not a politician. He can't lose his office. He already has millions and millions of dollars, so nobody can buy him off. He has a very strong faith, so nobody can intimidate him or blackmail him. He's very strong morally. I don't know that he drinks. I don't think he smokes. I don't think he's a womanizer, and so he can't be tempted in that way. So he's sort of like a foil for Trump. Can you see that? He has a lot of the same elements of Trump, except he's not the president. And so he can actually do and say a lot of things that the president is restricted from doing and saying. The president can't come out and say, Jeffrey Epstein is alive. The president can't come out and say, my chief of staff is having an affair with this woman in the comm shop. The chief of staff can't come out and say that John Roberts took part in illegal adoptions or flew on Jeffrey Epstein's um, jet. I'm sorry, the president can't come out and say that, not the chief of staff. So this is interesting, isn't it? Because if the president had a megaphone and he were able to make that leap from what our favorite letter of the alphabet was hinting at and getting people to research, if the president were able to pick up the ball and get a megaphone and shout out all of this revelation to the world right now, he would do that. But he can't do that because of the limitations of his office, okay? And because of national security. And he can't do that. But that's not stopping a private citizen who is virtually untouchable from doing that. Do you see how that is working right now? And when it comes to John Roberts, for example, he's one of the people who is responsible for a lot of destruction in our country. He's the reason that America got saddled uh, with Obamacare. Okay, and so there's a lot happening here that I think people need to understand, and it's and so let's back up for a minute and let's just imagine for a minute that everything that Lynn Wood is saying is a lie. Okay, but before I get to that, I want to address the issue of Mike Pence. Somebody said that Lynn Wood is dissing Pence. I think that that might be a little bit of disinformation because sometimes we've noticed that the people that are actually having the most impact or are capable of having the most impact, sometimes they actually um, they take one for the team. They get thrown under the bus. For example, Jeff Sessions. I think Bill Barr is one of those, and I think now Mike Pence. The reason for doing that is because it gets the enemies off the scent. Because if Trump's enemies, if the enemies of the republic believe that Pence is actually one of them and that he's a turncoat, they're not as likely to react when he actually they're going to remove some of their focus from him. Okay, so it's a form of disinformation. It's a distraction. Okay, and so I wouldn't get too disturbed by what you hear surrounding Pence. And so he's putting a spotlight on Pence, and it doesn't look like a good thing, but I think in the end you're gonna feel okay about it. All right. So just keep that in mind. Now, when it comes to what he is doing, let me just back up for a second. What was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought because I'm reading the chat. Somebody get me back on my train of thought. What was I gonna say before I started talking about Mike Pence? What was the whole goal of of Lynn Wood? Sorry, that's what happens when I read three chat streams at the same time. Oh gosh, let me go back up and see. Okay, disinformation, Lynn Wood. So what is it that Lynn Wood is doing? So let me rewind here. I was reading your chat. Yeah, I know I was talking about Lynn Wood, but I said I was going to go down that trail and then I got distracted by talking about Pence. Lynn Wood with John Roberts. Yeah. So Let me look at his tweets here. Oh, thank you. Okay, so thank you. All right. So here there's some possibilities here. So let's look at the possibilities. So yeah, multitasking. Has that happened to any of you? So is here's what ha- here's the possibilities. So one is that Lynn Wood is just flat out lying, that he's off his gourd, that he's just throwing spitballs in the wind, and he's wackadoodle. Okay, and so if that's the case, then he probably has like dementia. Okay, because his track record up until now is pretty impeccable, right? And so those people who would discredit Lynn Wood and just say that he's crazy and that he's not telling the truth, that he's crazy, that he's off his rocker, that he's just full of it. There are people who think that, but if that were the case, if he was just throwing out a pack of lies, then how come these are really prominent people who are being accused of doing really, really bad things, how come none of them have come out and denied it publicly? How come nobody has sued him? How come they're not dismissing him? Is the mainstream media even really talking about him? Because we know one of the things that we've seen with the media and the political class is that when somebody is over the target, they will call them crazy, and then they'll dig up dirt on them, and they will try to destroy their life. Have you noticed that? And so let's just assume for a minute that Lynn Wood falls into that category. How come he hasn't been canceled? How come he hasn't been sued? How come Mark Meadows hasn't sued him? How come Chief Justice Roberts hasn't sued him? How come none of these people have sued him? What do you think? Can we conclude that he's not crazy? Can we conclude that he actually might have the goods on all these people? We haven't even talked about the governor of Georgia yet, or the secretary of state of Georgia, or any of those people down there. We're just talking about the people in Washington, that part of the swamp. And it's interesting how he's going after Republicans, isn't it? Yeah. So, yeah. So if you're one of those people and you are a lawyer and a judge and you understand how this works and you've ever been in court, you know that if you sue Lynn Wood, that it's all going to come out in discovery, because Lynn Wood and his team, his attorneys can get all of that information subpoenaed, right? And so then it would go on the record. And so I think that if I were you, I would watch Len Wood's timeline very carefully, and I would assume that he's telling the truth and that he is getting this messaging out to start awakening the American people. He's putting out information that the president, like I said, the president can't give you this information. The president is not in a position. And furthermore, the media has already discredited the president. And so if you think that if you think that there's any chance that the mainstream media would even give credence to any of the things that the president says, it's just not going to happen, right? And so with Lynn Wood doing this, the media can put him in the crazy box, but they're in danger of creating what's called the Streisand effect. And so, they can either completely ignore him, or they can spotlight him and put him in the crazy box. And if they do that, then more and more and more people are going to look at what he's talking about, and and then it's gonna expose it. And so there's a disclosure that's happening, whether the media wants it to or not. It's sort of a double bind for them. Do you see how that works? And the other thing about the media is that a lot of them are actually part of this as well. They're either directly involved or they're complicit in covering it up. And so, so I think that it's a tough situation, right? And if you're one of those people, if you're one of those people who is being named and you sue him, then it's going to create even more exposure. And so you look at, for example, you look at Governor Brian Kemp, right? The man is hiding. It's like he's under a manhole somewhere and he won't come out. He hasn't even really campaigned for the people who are running for Senate in his state, because and somebody with nothing to hide would not be doing that, right? Governor Kemp, if he didn't have anything to hide, he would be right out there, front and center, campaigning and jumping on the bandwagon, and also he would be demanding that this election be done properly, but he's not. Okay, so think about that, and think about John Roberts. If John Roberts didn't have anything to hide, same thing. Mark Meadows, same thing. So I'm just saying, and some of it may be disinformation. I get that, but I would just suggest that you continue watching Linwood's timeline and take screenshots, because because these things may be deleted. Twitter sometimes makes it really hard to find these things, because I think that when some of the normies start to wake up, it's it'll be good to send them this information, right? And to say, this is not new information. These are things that we've known, but here's what's happening and here's what's going on. Okay. So I wanted to address that. I wanted to address the whole situation with Lynn Wood. Lynn Wood is not the only person who's doing this kind of thing, but he's definitely the most consistent and the most vocal. And he is, I mean, I feel like our intelligence team has given him an entire dossier and a timeline and just said, okay, um, go ahead and just, here's your timeline. We want you to drip this information at this time. So that's what he's doing. And somebody just put in the chat on Periscope that Roberts perhaps is the first arrest. And one of the things that our military intelligence insiders have told us is that the first arrest will shock the world. And it would be very interesting if the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court got arrested, wouldn't it be? That would be kind of interesting. That would be interesting. Okay, so let's see. We're going to pivot now. Does anybody have any questions about that? I think it's kind of an uh interesting situation. One of the other things about Roberts too is that he's talking about Chief Justice Scalia, and that he's basically saying that Roberts knew that about Scalia's death, and he was talking about Scalia's successor before Scalia died. So there's that. Right? Thank you for my moderators for muting stuff. So I think that it's pretty interesting. And remember that all of this, everything that we're seeing right now, we know that Trump won the election, even though according to YouTube and others, it was officially called for Biden. We know that you believe that and you can keep believing it, but it's not true. And so, there's a lot of people really believe that Scalia was murdered. I I think that you know, the president believes that, but again, the president can't come out and say that. So this is big. I mean, this is a big deal, and these are the things that we're talking about are treasonous and seditious, and they're, you know, crimes against humanity. I mean, there's a lot of really bad things that have happened, and the way that these people have been conducting their affairs has skewed the entire balance of our courts, of our Congress, our Senate, our presidency, all of it. And so the truth has to come out. And in the beginning, when our military intelligence insiders started doing these drops, they said that there was only a small percentage. There was only a small percentage of it that the public could handle, and I think that they negotiated a little bit with the Anons and agreed that they would allow more to come out than less. Um, Mary Grace, what is the guy's name that you would like us to look up? I don't know. Um, Give me some clues. In what context? Lynn Wood. Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, yeah. Um, yeah, so there's a lot of really bad stuff happening. So, any more questions about that? Do you have a good understanding of why Lynn Wood is doing the talking and why he's getting the information out the way that he is? I think hopefully that'll help. Um, Okay, so let me pivot just a little bit here. So, some people have asked me some questions over time about my show and about how I got into broadcasting, and I wanted to just share a little bit of Q&A because it's New Year's and because we want to kind of end on a lighter note than treason and sedition and murder and that kind of thing. Um, so let me just look at your uh, messages here for a minute. Okay, so yeah, you'll have to go back and watch the replay, Olympia. So welcome. It's good to see you. So okay, lost my picture for just a minute there. Sorry about that. Thank you, Comcast. Okay, yeah, there's a lot going on. Oh my goodness. Okay, interesting. So there it goes. Now it's coming back. Don't worry. Just looking at your chat. Okay. So somebody asked me a while ago, and I get this question a lot, and this was that was my camera that went out. Okay. I get this question a lot, and that is people ask me how I got into broadcasting. How did I get into this? How did I become a periscoper? How did I start my show and things like that? Um, and Lauren is asking me, how do I stay focused with so many threads happening? That's a good question, Lauren. It's not always successful, as you probably noticed. Okay, but here's what I wanted to tell you because I've been thinking about it. And one of the things, it started a few years ago, right before Trump, right after Trump got elected, and everybody was in TDS mode. And I went one day to Whole Foods, and I went into a Whole Foods, and I was wearing my Trump hat, and I tweeted about it, I put up a picture, and I said, I'm going to Whole Foods, pray for me, right? And so I went into Whole Foods, and then I came out, and people were tweeting at me, and they were saying, how was it? Tell us about it. Do a scope. And so I went live, and I talked about that, and people really liked it. Okay, Diane remembers it, and it's so funny because I go back and I think about that. Some of my scopes are archived. I should have been a little bit better about that. But I've come a long way. And it just turns out, I think because I was a teacher, because that's my background is education, I'm good at explaining things, that I just ended up being pretty good on camera. And I've done a lot of photography, so I know how to hold the camera and not make people dizzy. I think that makes a difference, Todd. And because And because the combination of those things, right? And it turns out I like to talk. Even though I'm an introvert, I'm like a verbal processor. And so I think about things and then it's good to be able to talk about them. I am a good writer, but talking is more immediate. And so I just tend to talk things through. Okay. And the music scopes didn't really start until later. So I'll get to that in just a minute. But I found something and I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you that yeah, Todd's working on his camera work. All right. I found something because I was cleaning out the storage room and at my parents' home in the basement. And I found this award that I won when I was 11 years old. No, I was 10 years old. I was 10 years old and I did a speech and it was in the 4-H club. Okay, so look at this. Look at this award that I won. Okay, you see this? Oops. Um, that's my award. I didn't realize that we did speeches in 4-H, but there it is. Okay. I won a blue ribbon. And this is back when you actually won on merit, not just because you showed up. And so it was awarded to me for my 4-H speech, Blue Ribbon. Isn't that interesting? So it turns out I was good at talking even when I was 10. And so who knew, right? Isn't that funny? And it's all dirty. It was all, it's like in the back of the storage room. Look how dirty and yellow it is. Yeah. And so there it was. And I didn't even realize that it was I didn't even realize that, I had done that. I'm trying to remember what the speech was for. I think I may have done like a uh an animated reading or something. Anyway, but it was, yeah, I got this little award. And so here we are. Here we are all these years later and I'm just sitting here talking every day on camera. And so I think it's kind of neat how God puts those things in people and then for years and years sometimes it may actually be hidden, right? And you may not be doing that thing, but I think that if you're willing to take a step and take a risk and sort of ask him what are those things, he'll show you. And so here I am with my little 4-H ribbon, sitting here with my camera and my ring light and my multi-stream and my computer, and I'm doing something that I won an award for when I was 10 years old. Isn't that amazing? It's just pretty cool how it comes full circle. And so I think it's an inspiring message for 2020 because so many people are in a time of reflection as we go into 2021 that sometimes you get derailed, you get distracted. There a lot of things have happened between then and now. And there were times when I didn't have my voice. I went through a pretty painful divorce. And during that marriage, I lost my voice. I wasn't talking. I wasn't teaching. I was quiet and I was sort of beaten down. And it was a really bad situation, right? And so God has restored that in me, and it's amazing. It's beautiful. So here I am talking, and I'm on my Periscope, and I'm on my Facebook and my YouTube, and I'm reaching thousands of people, hundreds of thousands a week who are listening to what I have to say. And here I was, talking in my 4-H club when I was 10 years old, and I won an award for that. And I was talking to a room full of probably parents who had to clap, right? And that's where we are. It's pretty cool, isn't it? And when I was in 2017, I wrote down a vision that God gave me, and that was that I was in a room full of people and I was teaching from the front of the room, and it was like a Bible study. I was teaching, and it was like a living room. And in the room was full of people, and every single chair was full. And then people were spilling into the hallways, and people were sitting on the floors every square inch of space where people could sit. They were, and then people were standing in the hallways and they were wrapped around down the hall trying to hear what I had to say. And when I had that vision, I wrote it down because I thought, this is kind of crazy. I don't think I would ever be teaching that many people. But it was something that God put in my vision and in my heart. And I remember at the time, I just said, okay, here I am, Lord, send me. And I had my own ideas about what I thought that would entail and what that would look like a year from then or 2 years from then or whatever. It doesn't look like that at all right now, but the fact is I'm talking to thousands of people right now and I'm teaching all these people. And so it's just a beautiful thing, and one of the things that I'm learning and one of the things that I'm reflecting on right now is that sometimes, you get a vision for something and you have an idea of how it's supposed to go, and sometimes it ends up manifesting in a different way from what you imagine that it's going to. But the amazing thing is that that if you stay close to God, if you stay close to God and you're just faithful to Him and you take steps, if you get a little unction of something that you feel like you're supposed to be doing, you just take action. You take imperfect action because done is better than perfect. And so I didn't know in the beginning of 2020 or at the end of 2019 when I put up my website and I was just obedient to God, and I felt a prompting to go and broadcast, like 2 times a week, which was a huge stretch for me, and to be consistent with it. I didn't know that I would be doing this 3, 4, 5 times a week, and that my broadcast, would be getting 30,000 or more views. I didn't know that. And I didn't believe that was possible. But I believed God. And so I just decided that I was going to be consistent. So that was my decision. My decision wasn't that I was going to be this amazing uh th- my decision wasn't that I was going to be this amazing teacher that was going to reach thousands of people. My decision was I'm going to be consistent and I'm going to go live 2 times a week at a set time. That was my decision. And so God honored that. He honored that consistency and that obedience. And I think there's somebody out there who needs to hear that. And the interesting thing, when I first had that vision about teaching those people, I thought it had to do with like missions. I thought that I was going to go uh go abroad and do something like that. And I actually it did end up going overseas and doing some things, but that wasn't really the plan. That was sort of my idea of God's plan. But this is a different situation, right? And here I am, I'm reaching people all over the world, and I'm doing it from my house. And I'm traveling too, but I think you get the point. And so it's a really beautiful thing when you realize that you don't have to have it all figured out. You just there's a lot to be said for obedience and consistency. And it's just, it's wax on, wax off. It's wax on, wax off. And it was happening, this was happening all through the summer. It was happening all through COVID. It was happening all through dealing with growing another business and maintaining another business that I have. And it was happening when my mom was sick. It was happening when my mom passed away. It was happening when I made the transition to taking care of my dad. All of that was happening. It was happening when people tried to steal our country in a fraudulent election. And there's so many things that could have gotten in the way of me doing this, but I had that commitment to be consistent. And so because I had that, God honored that. And so it's pretty neat, isn't it? Um and yeah, it's not. What is it that Mother Teresa used to say? She said, we can do no great things, just only small things with great love. And I think that that's a little bit of the principle that I'm saying here, because I'm driven by obedience, but also because I love God and because I trust Him and because I believe that He has the very best for me. And because I believe that He's putting me in a position where He can reach people and He can let me work in my best and highest good. And so because I believe that, I'm willing to do the things that don't always make sense and that to me seem a little bit mundane or a little bit, I don't know what the word is. Just like that wouldn't be my preference, right? I would want to be a little more spontaneous. I would want to go live when I feel like it, things like that. But because I was willing to do what I felt like God was asking me to do, which was to go live consistently at a certain time every week, then it became it became something that was really a blessing to so many people. Okay, and so now here I am broadcasting on all of these different channels. And that was another stage of it. Okay. So I started out just on Periscope and I didn't want to be on Facebook. I didn't want to be really on YouTube, especially on Facebook. It annoys me. Okay. And but then, a few months ago, I felt the Lord prompting me to set up the multi-stream. I talked to Greg Harvey and he told me how to do Restream, and I was like, I don't want to do it. And then I started streaming onto Facebook. But the thing is, now I'm reaching people on Facebook that would never ever watch Periscope, that would never get on Twitter. And and because of what's happening right now politically, there are so many people on Facebook who really need to hear and understand what's happening. Do you see that? And so many of the things that so many of the things that are happening around the world, so many of the world changers, and I think I'm one of those. I think a lot of people are. So many great things that happen start with just little steps of obedience, like what I'm doing right now. I think that's what I want to give you, is that it really has to do with just step by step by step by step, just taking those steps and saying, okay, I'm going to do this. I don't have it all figured out, but I'm going to do this, and I'm just going to do it to the best that I can. Okay. And so that's that's a little bit of my story of how I got into broadcasting. And it's God has used it to open so many doors. um I have a huge platform now with my superfoods company, right? And a lot of people have had their lives completely changed by that. And I wouldn't have been able to get that information and that resource to people in the way that I do without having this platform. It's amazing, isn't it? And I didn't know that when I started my website and when I started doing consistent broadcasting at the beginning of 2020. I had no idea that we were going to be doing that, that we're going to be doing the whole pandemic, and that people weren't going to be able to get a good source of of a good source of organic food, and that going to the grocery store was going to be impossible for people, and anything like that. I had no way of knowing that, but God positioned me to be able to give people access to to healthy options coming to their door. Do you see how that works? I mean, he knows the end from the beginning, and so he positions you to where, if you're willing to take the steps, if you're willing to be obedient, if you're willing to do something, just to take action, then he's going to bring all the other pieces into play. So that's my story. And I'm looking at the chat here, and it's awesome. So yeah, Lauren said something interesting. Uh, he said, we basically say to God, here I am, I'm alive, I'm still here. How can you use me, right? And that's pretty much the crux of it. Okay. Somebody asked about the superfoods. Was it Elizabeth on Facebook? Elizabeth, send me a message at my email, info@marygracemedia.com, and I'll give you some information about that, okay? All right. I saw that. Okay. So thank you for your comments. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, it's you know, I'm not I'm not really any different from any of you. I just decided to take a gift that God's given me and to put it out there in a platform that that will reach the most people in the way that God has shown me to do. That's it. You know, obviously he's given me the gift of being able to talk and teach and explain things and to see things. You know, I'm a little bit of a seer, I'm a little bit prophetic. And so I can just explain things and figure things out in a way that some people can't. And I make it simple. Maybe it's because I taught kindergarten. And so I had to get good at being able to simplify things. Maybe that's it, you know? And so God put me in a position of being a kindergarten teacher for a long time and just trying to make things simple for people. So, you know, everybody has something that you're being called to do. And you know what it is, you know? So, yeah, I have the gift of gab, that's for sure. So, Um, and I guess my mom knew because she let me do this 4-H thing and, you know, to talk. And then the other thing too is the singing. My mom sent me to music camp when I was young. When I was 12, 13 years old, I got to go to music camp and we did vocals and I learned a lot. I was in choir. And so that's another aspect of what I did and what I do. So it's just it's neat. It's a blessing. It's a blessing to be able to walk in those gifts. Uh, I'm a much better speaker than Joe Biden. Thanks. Well, you know the thing. You know the thing. Um, yeah. So, yep, Irish. I have some Irish in me, Nancy. Um, okay. So let's see. All right, I'm getting a lot of questions about superfoods. Yeah, Greg got his superfoods today. So let me pivot here. Does anybody have any uh questions? Yeah, when you're watching 30 kids, you have to keep your head on a swivel, that's for sure. The other thing about that when you're teaching kindergarten is you really have to be prepared. You have to learn how to be organized because when you're not, it's just the day a regular day goes into eternity because you have these little people's lives in your hands and and so it can just be complete and total chaos. Sometimes when I watch the president and I see how he handles all the things that he's handling at once, I think he probably would be a good kindergarten teacher. Same thing with Kaylee McEnany, right? When she's in the press room and she's watching all those people and the way that they're acting, um, kindergarten was actually easier than that, to be honest. But it uh, it is important. Like that's when it taught me to be prepared and to be able to think on my feet and to be creative and to problem solve in a crisis because that's pretty much what kindergarten is doing is teaching people to zip up their own backpacks, tie their shoes, wipe their noses, learn their ABCs, and count, forwards and backwards, and keeping them alive. You know, so I mean, it's pretty much what it is, and how to clean up their own mess. Um, so yeah, kindergarten cop. Yeah. Okay, so Greg got his superfoods today, and this is very exciting. And those of you who are just new here, I'm going to put out the challenge one more time because we have about 6 hours left in the day in the year of 2020. And I want to say that anybody who is thinking about doing the superfoods challenge, I am going to challenge you to get started today because the new year is coming, and if you order now, you'll be able to get your superfoods. You'll be able to get your superfoods like within a week. Okay, if you do the expedited shipping, which I recommend, and I want you to make sure that you give yourself this gift for 2021. Let yourself emerge out of the craziness of 2020. Give yourself the gift of superfoods. Give a loved one the gift of superfoods. This is going to be one of the best decisions you ever made. I talked to Susan in Oregon today, and she's been using the superfoods for about 4 months now. And I didn't know this because it's the first time we talked, but she said that she has tried so many different things for different health issues that she's had. And she said this is the first thing where she's seen a difference, like skin issues, energy, clarity, so many things. She said I'm ordering again today um because I'm in love with these superfoods. Nothing I've ever tried has been even close to what these superfoods are. And I hear stories like this pretty much every day. And so, you may be thinking, okay, this is just a gimmick. This is just another thing. And I'm not going to like it. And I don't want to invest in this. I don't want to invest in myself. And I'm just going to challenge you to rethink that because this is the time to do it. And so, Greg Harvey, if you're part of Greg Harvey's group, the Green Bear Tribe, if you're one of his listeners, um, his group is going to be doing the Fat to Fit challenge, right? And if you don't have fat to lose, that's okay. You can still be in the challenge. We have a private Telegram room set up. We're going to have people are going to be invited to group coaching with a lot of my people and Greg's people, and then there's some other people around the country who are doing that. And then we're also you're going to have access to a private Facebook group that has over 1,000 members. If you're on Facebook, great. If you're not, that's okay. You don't have to do that. But it's just going to be tremendous because everybody wants to make a change, whether it's energy, health, you want to lose some fat or something like that. Um, and that's something that, yeah, as a nurse and a health coach, I need to try. Exactly. Yeah. So this is just, you know, it's going to be fun, right? Because you got the Mary Grace superfoods, you got the Greenbeard superfoods, and everybody's going to get the same thing. We're going to start with the same playing field, and we're all just going to have sort of this friendly challenge, okay? And so whoever wants to jump in, this is the time. And in the process, you're helping Greg, you're helping me. I do get a small commission when you order superfoods. Greg gets a little commission when you order superfoods using his coach. Okay, and so I think that if you want to do it, this is the time. So that's what I'm saying. I'm reading the comments while I'm talking to you too. So Greg says I can't decide which team to play for. Send me an email, okay? info@marygracemedia.com. We'll help you figure out which team to get on. Greg has answered the challenge to lose 75 pounds. And he is pretty excited about this. He's a little scared, aren't you, Greg? Greg Harvey is in the chat on Periscope right now. And he's really wanting to make a change because he's having a major birthday coming up this year, and he said, I don't want a cheeseburger to be the reason that I have an early death. And so he's really making a big decision. And a lot of people are making that decision too. Delia is in the chat on Periscope, and she has lost, I think, uh, is it 57 pounds right now? Yeah, and Luann has said you'll be amazed at how much you like them. The flavor is amazing. Like I am so picky, you guys, and people ask me that a lot. They're like, "What's the flavor like?" I don't know. I don't want to try it. I haven't had anybody tell me that they don't like it. So that's it. So what happens? How do you order 58.2 pounds? That's amazing. And she's still using superfoods, so it's fantastic. How do you get it? You send me an email, info@marygracemedia.com, and you're going to get a voucher. You're going to get a coupon code to save $50 to $100 off, depending on what you order, maybe a little bit more. And it's going to be awesome because you're going to be making one of the best decisions of your life. So do it today. Don't wait till tomorrow. A lot of you guys have been listening to me. You've been listening to me for months, and this just happened the other day. Somebody said, I've been listening to you, and I finally decided to do it. So if you're one of those people who has been thinking about it, um, you need to just jump in. Just give yourself this gift. Make this your New Year's resolution. Make it your 2021 resolution, not just for 1 month. Okay. Lauren is in the chat, and I love hearing him because Lauren did not need to lose weight. He needed energy, and he needed sustainable energy for his very busy job driving a UPS truck. And so he orders some of our sports shakes and I think some of our protein products. Okay. And he loves it. He orders every month. He's in California. He gets his products, and it keeps him going. Sometimes I think like 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. I mean, he's really busy. And if you've ever seen the UPS drivers, they're in and out, in and out. They're running around. Lauren didn't need to lose weight. He needed energy. He needed sustainable energy without going to fast food. And especially with California right now, because it's hard to get stuff because everything is shut down. So everybody's doing drive throughs. He doesn't have time to go to a drive through and sit there and get a bunch of junk food and then stuff it down his face. So he just keeps the superfoods with him, and he's using that to keep his energy all day long. He said it's the best decision he's made. Okay. Yeah, we do have sport shakes. So um, will it benefit you with or without exercise? Heather, yes. Yeah. So some people are really committing to extra exercise. They're going to be, committing to a fitness program, that kind of thing. Some people have told me that they actually get more muscle tone even if they're not exercising. I mean, exercise is good for you, so I recommend it, even if you're just walking a mile or two every day, right? Or you're walking on your lunch break or whatever. But I'm telling you this because, it's just such an easy thing. It's so easy. It's nutritious. You're tackling those blood sugar highs and lows. You're adding energy. A lot of people who need to lose fat are going to lose it. It just depends on what you want to do. But it's info@marygracemedia.com. And somebody said, do you take it with food or in place of food? So the answer is yes. So there's a little bit of both. Okay. So send me Bandit, send me an email, info@marygracemedia.com. And there's like a little explainer video. So you can see a little more of what it's about. Yeah. So Lauren says it's kind of like regular gas versus premium gas. I think that's a good way to describe it. I mean, putting our superfoods in your body is like giving your engine supercharged fuel. And the thing is, but you're not doing stimulants, you're not doing sugars, you're not doing artificial stuff. Yeah, Susan says the aminos do wonders for your muscles. They really do. Uh, it's amazing. Yeah, Greg says he's going to walk at night. That's perfect. Yeah. So, if you have a like a podcast you want to listen to, that's a great time to get your exercise in. I do that all the time. Yep. So I want to read this comment um, because hold on. Yeah, Luann says I haven't been sick since I started them. Yeah, there you go. It's just it's working for a lot of people. We have thousands of people. Our superfoods company actually quadrupled in business during the pandemic. So there's that. Um, yeah. So if you're in a situation too with the superfoods where if you want to add another income stream or if you want to just make a change to what you're doing, there's also an option with that. So you can send me a message and find out more about that too. It's info@marygracemedia.com. Let me check the chat here a little bit. If there's any other questions about this is a good time to ask. Yeah, the testimonies are great. Yeah. All right. So Illinois, so cold, frostbite on my hands. Yeah. So, Luann says, all you grannies out there, get ready for firmer butt and arms. That's so funny. That's so awesome. Yeah, no more jiggly arms, you guys. Yeah, it really does. The muscle tone is great, you know. I don't know, I've never had anything like this. Just never have. And, you know, it's helped with all the inflammation I had because I have Hashimoto's. Oh, Tony Anderson. Is that you, or is that were you the one that said that someone else, your wife, was on there? Um, how do you describe what the superfoods taste like? This is Tony on Facebook. Um, that's a good question. I mean, one of the shakes is a green shake, but it doesn't taste super green because it's fruits and greens together. It's not too sweet, not sour, not bitter. Um, that's a good question. I don't know. Can you guys describe what it tastes like? Cindy. Hey, Cindy. Okay, I saw your question earlier. I think the best thing, Delia thinks it tastes like fruit punch. See, I don't think it tastes like that at all. But, you know, it just, I think it depends on your taste buds because one of the things that happens is because you're getting these organic fruits and greens into your body. Some people have a very acidic body because they've been consuming a lot of sugars. And so if that's you, it might taste bitter at first, but it doesn't stay that way. Like it doesn't taste bitter to me. It really helps your with a sweet tooth. Don't you guys think? Like if you have a sweet tooth and you've been trying to get rid of that and get off of sweets and you've been trying to handle cravings, this is a really good option. If you're one of those people that gets like low blood sugar and you get in the afternoon and like you have to eat for everybody else's survival, that's a key because this is going to help you stay like more stable. Okay. So that's something to think about. All right. I hope that helps. Sorry if I'm not answering that very well. No more sweet tooth. Yeah. So yeah, the sweet tooth is a big thing for a lot of people because that's just it's just a common thing, you know, that I think because a lot of the foods that we buy, a lot of processed foods have a lot of added sugar. And so that increases the likelihood that you're going to crave more, you know, because it's already in the foods. Um, yeah, if you have reflux and things like that, actually, my friend Michelle said that the superfoods really help her with the reflux. And there's one product that we have that she takes that helps with that, and I'm going to ask her about it. Um, yeah, send me an email. Definitely want to get your order in tonight because you want to jump on this transformation group. I mean, take advantage of the coaching. That's We don't do this all the time, you know. Take advantage of it and get into the coaching. um Price comparison to regular shopping. Yeah, so the way that I compare it, if you do the transformation, you're actually going to save money because you're not going to end up buying stuff that you would normally buy. You're not going to buy the junk food. You're not going to go to drive-throughs. Um, I noticed that, like, I used to meet a friend of mine at Panera for lunch, and that was like $15 for a lunch. It's not even that much. So if you're used to going to drive-throughs, if you're used to doing Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts or things like that, you're gonna cut out some of that. And you're also gonna find that you're not filling up your refrigerator with healthy foods that you think you're supposed to eat, and then you never end up eating them, right? Has anybody done that? This just makes it's just so much easier. This is the easiest thing I have ever done. And I pre-measure my shakes. These are great questions. I pre-measure my shakes and I get my shaker bottle ready the night before in the fridge. And then I literally just dump it in, shake it, and go. Twice today I did that. I was running late. My dad was ready to get his go to get his exercise done. And he was waiting for me at the door. And so I was like, okay, I'll be right there. And I just literally made my shake and took it with me. It was perfect. Okay. Yeah, eating out is really expensive. Yeah. And a lot of the packaged foods that people buy, you know, price per pound It's super expensive. And what we're getting with our superfoods too, I want you to think in terms of not just money, but value. Because most of what we buy at the store is crap. Even the fruits and veggies, right? They've got pesticides on them. They're heavily, they're grown by big ag, right? Some of them are GMO. What you're getting with superfoods is you are getting the best organic superfoods delivered right to your door. You couldn't do that. You couldn't buy those um, that much groceries and have that quality in a smoothie or a shake 2 times a day. You just can't. Catherine, can you send me an email? Catherine Evans, okay? Um, I'm not trying to be evasive. There's just a reason that I don't talk numbers on the show, okay? Sometimes we have haters, and so I just try to be careful about that, okay? Here's a good tip right here. Just getting the bad stuff out of your body. Yeah, so Luann says you can order baby food containers on Amazon and pre-measure your shakes to take them to go. That's kind of what I do. I use the little containers and then I just pre-measure it on a Sunday. I get everything ready and then I just go. So if you have a busy lifestyle, if you're working in a job that that is thank you, Catherine. I appreciate it. I'm not trying to avoid your question. Um, so if you have a busy job where it's hard for you to take breaks, like a teacher, for example, this is really perfect because I wish that I had had this when I was teaching. I really do. It would have just been the best thing because if you're teaching, if you're a nurse, like where the break room is, and you have all that crap, and you have the vending machines and all that. This keeps you out of that. All right, so I've answered a ton of questions about superfoods. I hope this is helping you. I hope it's getting you excited for 2021 for making a transformation because everybody that I know who has gotten on these superfoods has said that it's changed their life, not just food wise, but it's given them so much more. And, it really has because especially like women, when your body starts to change and you're getting fatigue or you have a lot of energy issues or hormonal issues or things like that. I've had a lot of people who have told me that this has made a huge difference. Okay. And again, we're not here making medical claims. We're just telling you what people have experienced. And there's thousands of people out there who've experienced this. I'm going to find Delia's before and after picture because this is amazing. Um, Delia. Let me see if I can find it. Delia. Hmm, shoot. I've got so many emails here. I don't think I have it right here. Okay. Yeah, you can Delia is in the chat on Periscope. You can send a message to her too. Okay. What's the average time frame for delivery on the first purchase? Marlene, send me a message about that. It depends on where you are and what type of shipping you choose. Okay. Let me see. What do we got here? December 9th, that's when the email was. Okay. Wrong mailbox. I'll have to come back to it. Okay. Pretty amazing. I know. I think it was about then too. My yeah, it's not working. My when I'm on the iPad, it's really hard to search emails, so sorry about that. Okay. All right. So how's everybody doing here? And you missed the initial conversation, Texas Yellow Rose. Yeah, just send an email. So we're just really getting everybody on track here to do this superfoods challenge. So Greg Harvey has a group of people who are doing it. I've got a group of people who are doing it. There's going to be tons of support. We have a Telegram chat. We have a private access to a private Facebook group with over 1,000 members, so you can meet people and interact and share your stories. And then we also have there's also free gifts with purchase right now. So that's another thing I forgot to mention. So you're getting some free product when you order, which is amazing. I think that's it. Okay. So listen, I hope everybody has a very happy new year. And I don't know if I'll be broadcasting through the weekend. I will be back on Monday. And then I'm going to be in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I will be doing some live broadcasting while I'm there. I will be doing Periscope broadcasting when I'm there. So make sure you're following me on Periscope, Mary Grace Media. Make sure that you are following the show. Um, Tony Anderson's wife, message me, send me a message, info@marygracemedia.com. It's a voucher. So it's 50 to $100 or more off of your order. Okay. So yeah, so marygracemedia.com, Mary Grace Media on social media, and send me a message, info@marygracemedia.com. And what was the other thing? If you don't want to do superfoods, if you don't want to support the show in that way, the travel that I do, the content, you can just go to my website, marygracemedia.com, and you can click support. And there's a couple of different ways on there that you can support the show and the work that I do. So happy New Year, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Have a blessed new year. And if you sent me an email, I will be getting back to you after I feed my dad dinner. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. Take care. Happy New Year.